That's for you.
Thank you, Keelie. And I'm going to ask Keelie to stay up on the stage here with me now, because we're going to move into a panel discussion. We're going to ask Eric and Dietmar to come up as well. And we're lucky to have Nandini Basuthakur here with us today. She's the CEO of Procurement Leaders, and she's going to manage this discussion with our customers today, a little panel, and talk through some of the things that we've addressed today already, some sort of stakeholder management and some of the issues that go along with that, and how to create a vision within the organization. Before I hand it off to Nandini, I do want to tell you that I am done for today. That may be good, that may not be good to some of you. But after Nandini's done, Dave Britton, our UK country manager for Amazon Business, is going to come up and lead you through the rest of your day. Make sure you know where to go and when things are going to start. So I want to thank you all again for coming today, and thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
I actually don't need that. Great. I think we need this. Well, hello, I'm Nandini, and just one sentence on procurement leaders, because I think today is about this next 20 minutes or so is about the conversation that you probably want to have. So yes, I work for Procurement Leaders. We are a global organization. We work with 750 member companies and 250 partners around the world, which means 37,000 procurement leaders, practitioners like you, work with us on a daily basis. Our mission is very simple: to inspire progress. So I get to have a great job, my team, that we go around the world trying to figure out where cool new ideas are happening, who's doing things faster, smarter, leaner, so that we can share that back to you. We're very proud and privileged to be partners of Amazon Business. I was excited in March to be part of their International Women's Day with Amazon Amplify, and I'm delighted again to be here to facilitate today. Our panel today is really going to focus on organizational change management. So you heard some very eloquent presentations from my esteemed panelists on either side. I love a panel where you don't have to do introductions. It wastes so much time. But here we are. Well, that was all really good, but really, tell us what really happened. You know, we've seen the benefits, we see the ROI. Some of this is, so how do we get into this? Before I get started, please get ready with Slido. This is your session, so we want to see your questions coming in. I've got a couple of prepared questions, but we can throw those out and just go to your questions as they come in. Can I just see a show of hands? How many of you are not yet started on this journey, but are very seriously thinking about it? Okay. And how many of you are already in the journey? Sort of similar to what we heard. Okay. All right. So let me turn. I'm really excited because you can see we've got a heterogeneous panel. It's a big word. It means different industries, different geographies. Can you see me right? Yeah. But how did you get started, Eric? Let me come to you. How did you get started, and what was the hardest thing to overcome?
We started, as I said earlier, by discovering that Amazon Business was coming live in France. And internally, we said to each other, why not try it? We, like at Siemens, like Dietmar mentioned, there are a lot of free text entries in our e-procurement system, and having the possibility to order through extensive catalogs was really a good opportunity for us. So this was the first impact we saw. And just after, we had identified that our internal users, our sites, wanted more user-friendly tools. And they don't want to use old-fashioned tools anymore. Mm-hmm. So it was also the second point that made us take this decision. And what we had to overcome was, let's start. What size should we start? And we decided to start very small on one project, then 2, then 3, then 4. And it was really a step-by-step process and an iterative process.
Interesting. So You know, turning to you, Keelie, your stakeholder, your sponsor, the benefits are quite different. And I wanted to just understand, you know, how does that process look and how's it going for you?
So, as I mentioned earlier, our nursery managers had been buying from Amazon anyway, even though they weren't allowed to. So, they are absolutely delighted that they've got this long list of items that they can purchase, one click, pay by invoice, deliver tomorrow. They're just absolutely delighted that they've got this opportunity, and they don't feel like they're being naughty anymore. They don't feel like we're watching them and we're catching them out by using their credit cards on Amazon. So we had 90% take up in the first 30 days, which was phenomenal. And let me tell you, that does not happen in Busy Bees. It's usually quite a long process because change is tough.
Interesting. Dietmar, did you see that similar enthusiasm at Siemens? Well, I use Amazon at home, so great, let's use it in business.
From the users,
Yep.
yes. From the company, no.
Tell us about the company.
Well,
then.
the company, we have a tax department, we have a treasury department, we have a finance department, we have a procurement department, we have a payables department. You have all these. So we actually did it reasonably well. We got all these people, different functions together with Amazon Business, and we had a kick-off meeting that was around values, the values that we stand for as organisations, which, to be fair, to this day, continue to be the core. What that allowed was it allowed people to maybe not be quite as protective of what would be a challenging area, but it was a challenge. It was a challenge. It was, to be fair, it was taken on board with open arms, but it was a challenge. But we got those different functions together as a group, with the background that the users actually wanted a simplified process.
So let's talk to that change for a second, because Todd opened up with a very interesting fact that I think, only a third of all change management initiatives actually drive some success, and 50%, the stark reality that 50% fail. So within that resistance that you encountered, and let me stay with you for a second, Dietmar, how did you do that? Did you have some change ambassadors? Did you... how did you nudge people along? What was when you look back, what worked?
It's going to sound somewhat simplistic, but it's actually the values that we agreed at the beginning, and persistence to want to do something different. And as we worked through that process to show that people were willing to solve the challenges that were put on the table. So for me, it was almost about the individuals having a vested interest because they could see it was going to make life easier. But it was the value set. It was the value set that we agreed at the beginning, and that was, I can't swear, but be honest, say it as it is, be courageous to force the change. Those kinds of things. And
so there was a communication plan and a regular meeting that reiterated and calibrated against
this.
And
we have a live internal social media that we use within Siemens, and that was being updated every single week, sharing the challenges and the successes.
How did that look for you, Eric? Did you have an enthusiastic adopter internally?
We had, at the early beginning, very enthusiastic and very early adopters. We had also, and we still have, some people reluctant to work with Amazon, because it's a fact, some people don't want to work with Amazon. But since Amazon Business is an add-on to our existing suppliers, it's a new possibility for our sites, for our projects, to access a large database of products that they could not find easily, or that they could not find at the corner of the street, and having a next day delivery from Amazon Business was a good way to facilitate the life of the users.
That's clear. That's clear. Keelie, what has been hard? I think you portrayed a really interesting. I liked your presentation very much. But if you look back on the last 6 months, what has been the hardest thing to change?
I think that persuading our senior management team that there's no catch. There is no catch. You know, what's the catch, Keelie? You've got Business Prime for an amazing amount of money, which worked out for the first year at £1.72 per nursery for the year. What's the catch? So I think that was probably the hardest thing. The nursery managers, regional directors were all just delighted. Can you put this on? Can you put this on? And generally, probably 99% of the time, I've said yes, because I needed to make sure that during that process, our managers could see that, yes, you can have, within reason, anything you want from Amazon. So it was the senior management team that I think has been the trickiest, because they're all Amazon users. They all have their Prime every year, but bring it into the business, what's the catch? And I think we're moving forward now. I think we are.
Interesting. Skeptic. But this is too good to be true.
That's
okay. Let me turn to some questions from you, actually. So as they're coming in here, Dietmar, can you read this one? Have you used Amazon Business to replace any categories for any catalogs for established categories, or just to address tail spend?
It's a really good question.
It is.
We introduced Amazon Business to complement our catalogues. That's where we started. But we have seen, and one of the commodity managers in the room, we have seen some of the offerings challenge some of our catalogue items, not necessarily the full catalogue, but it's challenged the catalogue items. So have we replaced a catalogue? No. Have we freed up that they can purchase from Amazon Business? Yes. So what it also gave us, which was quite good, is that it showed us that some of our catalogues really are quite good in terms of the pricing and delivery that we've got, which is good information actually for Amazon, because that's the market they're competing with. So no, it hasn't actually taken any catalogues out, but it has enabled a competition on items within a catalogue.
Great. I'm going to skip one, and then Eric, to you mentioned you're combining Amazon Business with some of your ERP systems. How's that going? What challenges are you addressing?
That's a tough question. Yes, we are working with our e-procurement editor to interface Amazon Business with it. So hopefully we will have this connection before the end of this year. It's not easy, because the issue for me is to keep the people, the users, to still have access directly and easily to Amazon website. We need to keep the use of the system very, very simple. So we don't want that the process becomes too heavy. Otherwise, we will have lost a lot of the opportunities we have identified. So for me, this is the main challenge. Keep the process very simple, even if it is interfaced.
Okay, really good. Sticking with you for a second, how much investment was required? You've got a question. People, thinking about their upcoming budgets. How do we position this?
In fact, the investment is about people. We have embarked a lot of teams, IT teams, financial teams, procurement teams, of course, on many categories, on many aspects. So it's much really a people investment rather than financial. Of course, we had to put a bit of money on the table, but the real issue is about the engagement of the people and the teams in order to succeed.
Great. Keelie, if I can turn to you, I think one of the questions that often comes up is, how do we get to a minimal viable pilot? You know, how do we have enough data to get there? How do I communicate this? And then what are my next steps? Any advice on that?
I think for us it was different because we knew that 250 of our nurseries were already using Amazon anyway, so we knew that they knew how to use it. Mm-hmm. So for us, we didn't want to pop it in a couple of regions or a couple of nurseries. We wanted to give the gift of Amazon to the whole business. So for us, with such early days, we're going to have 3 months of analysis in the next week or so. I think that will give us enough data to be able to say, you know what, let's just carry on as we are, adding to our lists and looking at spot buys. And then over the next 12 to 18 months, we plan a huge revolution of our procurement system, which will see our resources hub just literally redesign itself. And that's where Amazon comes in with this. We're looking to partner with them for the long term.
Okay, coming back to you, Dietmar, I think you talked eloquently around how Siemens has transformed and, you know, the massive digitalization. Both you and Todd have, you know, underscored the importance of data. Where does Amazon Business fit into that wider digitalization kind of and transformation projects in your organization? Where do you place this in terms of that broader landscape?
That's a really good question. I think as a marketplace, it serves a marketplace need in itself, but we expect to have multiple marketplaces available to our users because we have it in the consumer world, so why wouldn't you want it in the business world? So we will put a front layer on where our users can access any marketplace that we give connectivity to, so it will from a marketplace. But what we're also getting, and it's difficult to put a number around this, but one of the advantages Amazon have is that they know how to use data. Mm-hmm. That their company is built on being able to use data. So that whole offering of how you're spending the money, where you're spending the money, in that real-time sort of cockpit environment that allow users to see things, that helps change the culture that we're also trying to change in a broader sense about how data can influence what we do in our working life and in our customer life. So I think there's the marketplace piece, but there's also the less tangible, how do you leverage that expertise that Amazon Business have with that data? So that's where the bigger, and for me, that whole data piece is where the future opportunities lie.
It's interesting, really, really interesting. Let's move on. This question of using Amazon as a strategy to increase spend with smaller, medium enterprises. Has that been something active in you know, something you've looked at? Eric, anyone? Over to you. Anyone? How does this question here? I think it's an interesting one. How does Amazon support a strategy of increasing spend with smaller, medium enterprises? It isn't about you doing business with Siemens, but you know, other types of suppliers potentially.
In Bouygues Construction, we really have a focus on working with SMEs, and we have contracts with some clients who require a percentage of activity with SMEs. So working with SMEs is really part of the strategy. So how does the use of Amazon support that? In fact, with third-party suppliers, we know that some of them, not most of them, but some of them are in the country or in the region. So it helps us to achieve this goal anyway. But it's not only with the support of Amazon. We do that on a daily basis with all our suppliers to ensure we are aligned about this objective.
Okay. I think there's a question around quality that I think is interesting here at the bottom. You know, what's been your experience in terms of the quality delivered, and did you have to filter out, you know, lower quality products?
I think from our point of view, we just chose every single product that was on the list. So we know exactly what's on the list, and everything else is either blocked or restricted. And I think there's only a couple of restricted purchases that have been made. So that means that our managers are really sticking to the list. So no, we've had a couple of issues with broken boxes on delivery. It's been sorted out very, very quickly. No issues at all.
Dietmar, quality?
Yeah, we started, I think, a little bit like Eric. We controlled what was available to our users. And over time, we've opened that up. But we did it for two reasons, because what is quality? It's quality in the eyes of the user, or quality in the eyes of the business that says you should or shouldn't buy that. So what we found is that the business as a generic whole has been more accepting that products through Amazon Business are okay. There are some that we will continue to block, but we're opening it up. So we've not seen yet for a clickable order, because we still have free text orders. Right. We haven't seen an issue.
Okay, in the interest of time, sorry, I'll come to you.
Yes, if I can just add on the quality, there was a question about the PPEs earlier. Yep. Since the safety are really an issue in the construction industry, we are very careful in terms of what kind of PPEs are used on our sites. So we decided to close the PPEs in Amazon Business until we are sure the products that are proposed on the website are compliant with our policy. So this is how also we control quality, through blocking some categories.
There are some lights flashing at me, which means we're running out of time. I'm going to close out with a few words from each of our panelists. You all talked about a journey. Amazon Business has talked about a journey. What's your advice for this audience on the journey forward? Dietmar.
Start simple.
Keelie.
Think big.
Step-by-step process.
Start simple, think big, step by step. Thank you very much to my audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini.